Welcome to Straight Talk with Alyssa Thorne, and I have with me today Nicholas Kusmich. And today we're going to be talking about all about Facebook. And he is brilliant with Facebook. So welcome, Nicholas.
Thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure and an honor to be here with you, Carly.
I would love for you to share with the audience, why did you get involved with Facebook?
Well, you know what? I was in the internet marketing space for a long time. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I came late to the game. I'm a young guy, so what was going on real big was internet marketing. And I was a little bit late to the Google AdWords game. It seemed like that was the space that everyone was in. That's how people were generating traffic and all that. But I was a little too late. I mean, the prices had gone up, and people were getting slapped by Google, and all sorts of weird things were happening. So I said, well, how's another way that I could draw attention to my business? And this was right around the time that Facebook had originally come out with their ads platform, that is. And so what they offered were these little right side rail ads on the side. I took a bunch of courses. I thought it was one of the most fascinating things that were out there, and I thought, hey, if I can master this, I think Facebook's going somewhere, and we can make something happen with it. So I just dove right in. I took a bunch of courses, and I got to tell you, if anyone out there has ever tried Facebook, Facebook marketing, or any sort of advertising for that matter, and you've not been successful with it, this story might be a little bit familiar to you. I remember I took the course. I mean, it was a cheapy course. I figured out, okay, let's make this happen. I put up my first ad, and like those commercials, there's a lot of anticipation. The ad goes live. I thought, here we go. We're going to make millions of dollars. And as soon as the ad went live, there was nothing but crickets. No one was clicking, no one was coming through to my sales page, no one was interested in what I had to do, so I thought surely this was an epic failure. So I went back to the course, I bought another one, I tried something else out, made a couple of tweaks, and this time again, went live, waited for something to happen, and this time the opposite happened. I got so many clicks that I was ecstatic. I thought, surely this is my ticket to riches. Tons and tons of clicks that ended up costing me thousands of dollars that I didn't even have, and lo and behold, zero sales. And that was kind of my introduction to the Facebook world. I figured at that point I had one of two decisions. Am I going to give up, turn my back on this, maybe even turn my back on my business because I couldn't make any sales, I couldn't generate any revenue, or was I going to buckle down and realize that quitters weren't going to get anywhere and really make this happen? Now, fortunately for me, I made what I call the $1 million decision, and the reason I say that is because I chose to go with the latter. I chose to make Facebook work for me, and that decision has led to millions of dollars in revenue for myself and my clients, and the rest, as they say, is history.
So that's what we're going to focus on today. I would love to get really rich tips to people on how to use Facebook and how to make those ads work, because that's a question I get asked by all my clients. And especially now with all the changes with Facebook, with the algorithm changes, and as we know, all the platforms are constantly changing. Twitter, Google, LinkedIn, everything is constantly evolving, as we know. And most people are afraid of change. They hate change. They're like, oh, another change. How do I use this? How do I use that? So I would love for you to share with people how to make those Facebook ads work. What do they do? And you are great at this. I mean, we were just at Archangel Academy, and I spent 2 days there, and I've heard you speak, and it was awesome. And also we did the masterminds, which were great, and I got to hear you amazing tips. So let's spend this time together and walk through some of these amazing tips and give people how to make Facebook ads really work.
Sure.
So I figure if you can walk through some steps and tools, and let's obviously break this apart because there's many ways to do this, and how to target people, and and obviously there's different ways to make these work. And I'm going to give it to you, and obviously let's break this up, because if you just talk and talk and talk, we're going to lose people because they're going to get all confused. So we can break this up in a nice pithy way, which pithy means, I know you know what that means, but some people aren't going to know, and some short, sweet ways that people can make Facebook ads work for them.
Right. Well, I mean, I think there's two sides to Facebook ads and really mastering them. One would be strategy, and the other would be tactics. And a mentor of mine once told me that tactics create sales, strategies will build businesses. And so I want to start with maybe some overall strategy so everyone is in the same mind frame of where we need to go with Facebook ads. And then we'll talk into maybe a couple tactical elements that people can apply. Does that work for you, Carly?
That's awesome. That's absolutely perfect.
Okay, so I don't know about you, but there have been times where I've been looking at Facebook ads, and I mean, I've been totally distraught by it because, I mean, people are just trying to sell to me, and they think any advertisement platform is a way to sell and offer some stuff. So let me kind of illustrate this first with a story. I want everybody to imagine that you're at a family barbecue. You're there catching up with some old family friends, you know, catching up on the family gossip, eating your grub. And all of a sudden, a guy walks in completely uninvited, starts grabbing some burgers off the barbecue, and then all of a sudden starts to try to sell you a vacuum cleaner. Now, first and foremost, how would that make you feel? Now, if you're like most people, they would say angry, upset, totally distraught by the whole thing. And then I turn around and I ask them, well, why is that? And really the issue is because, number one, they weren't invited. Number two, they didn't realize the context. I mean, this was a family barbecue. This was not a time nor the place to be selling vacuum cleaners. And three, I didn't even need a vacuum cleaner. So why is this guy coming around trying to sell vacuum cleaners to me? The case in point is when a user goes on to Amazon.com, let's say. Let's think about what the intention of that user is. If they're going on to Amazon.com, it's most likely that they're there to buy something, because Amazon is a commerce platform. Same thing with something like eBay. If a user goes on to the eBay platform, you know that their mind space is in the place of trying to buy something or looking to buy something. Again, why? Because it's a commerce platform. So in this kind of a scenario, it would be totally appropriate for you to try to sell something on these commerce platforms. But let me ask everybody the other question. When a user goes on to Facebook, when they scroll through that news feed on their mobile phone or on their desktop computer, why are they there? I assure you it is not to buy something. They're there to connect, they're there to engage, they're there to consume some content, to kind of throw their feet back and have a good time. So what does that mean with everything? It means that Facebook is not, and I repeat, is not a commerce platform. And the problem that most people have who are trying to advertise on Facebook is that they're trying to go in with a commerce mindset. In other words, they're trying to go in to sell something on a platform that is not necessarily opened up to having people buy stuff. And again, the whole process of this is understanding context. Carly, if me and you went to a wedding, if me and you went to a funeral the next day, if me and you went to a networking event the following day, and then a sporting event the next day, and all with the same people, we would act very differently at each one of those events. Why? Because the people don't matter as much as the context. And for those people who don't respect the context, they will most likely do something that is inappropriate. Likewise, I see advertisers all the time jump on Facebook trying to sell. They put up an ad, buy my stuff. They put up another ad, come get my stuff. They put up another ad, say, hey, look at my stuff, it's so great. And what they're doing is a very fundamental problem. They are not understanding the context of Facebook as a social platform or as a media distribution platform. And as a result, more often than not, I meet people all the time who say, Nick, look, I've tried Facebook and it doesn't work. And I can't help but to sit back and chuckle, because all I got to do is look at their ads and see what's going on. And 100% of the time, all it is people violating the simple understanding that they don't understand the context of Facebook. Facebook is a social or a media platform, not a commerce platform. So if you want to play in the game or the space of Facebook, you have to be what the people call native. You have to understand the context of the platform and play within it. Now, do you want me to kind of get into some examples of what that might look like?
Absolutely, because I think a lot of people don't understand that. And I love how you actually played that out so people can understand what you're saying. I agree. Facebook is a place to connect, to engage. And if people can understand that, then they can understand how to then develop their ads. So I'd love for you to actually then share how they develop their ads within that context.
Sure. It's a great question, and I think the easiest way to get this across to anyone who's watching or listening today is simply to think about their activities as they conduct and as they do whatever they do on Facebook. I know for me, when I get on Facebook, the first thing I do is when I click the Facebook button and it opens up in my browser or on my mobile phone or on my app, I am in the news feed, and that's ding, ding, ding number one. We have to realize that today, people are not going to other people's profiles. People are not going to other people's business pages as much. They are in the news feed, and they are probably scrolling at 100 miles an hour. So between you and me, if I'm scrolling through my news feed, I have to ask myself, what stops and catches my attention? Usually, first and foremost, I notice some sort of an eye-catching photo, an image, photography, whether that's someone doing something crazy, whether it's a cat doing something crazy, whether something that just totally speaks to me and relates to me, catches my attention, I'll stop that scroll. As soon as I stop the scroll, the second thing I do is I want to read the wording above or below the image. And usually what catches our attention, or what's really hot on Facebook right now, are these very interesting articles. Something that says along the lines of, and I'm just kind of pulling this out of the air, but it'd be something along the lines of, 14 ways that cats flush the toilet. And there'll be a funny image of a cat flushing a toilet, and then they'll throw in some kind of a byline that says, number 3 made me laugh and pee my pants. I mean, just something that totally catches your curiosity. You're like, what on earth is this? I must click on that. I don't know how many times, even though I know that they're there, I don't know how many times I clicked on something like that. Now, usually in the normal Facebook world, you'll click on that. It'll take you to a blog or something like that. You'll read through it, you'll laugh, you'll like, you'll share, do whatever you do. Now, this should be a key indicator about what us as business people can do on Facebook. We need to manage and we need to be native to the context of Facebook. So we understand that if this is what people are doing and this is the activity of what people are doing, why not put an ad in the newsfeed that is just like that? Now, of course, all of us are selling different things, or we're in the service industry or whatever we are, but we need to be creative about content that we can provide to people that would be interesting to them. And so if I was, let's say, in the weight loss niche or something like that, I might come up with an article that says, 3 sneaky weight loss tips that will allow you to lose X amount of weight in X amount of days without diet or exercise. Click here to read more. They'll click on the image. There'll be a fascinating image there. And then, rather than me trying to sell them anything, which is totally, in my opinion, pretty a sleazy way to do business, or rather than even trying to capture a lead, which is what is commonplace right now. A lot of people are just trying to capture a lead, say, hey, if you want this information, fill out your name and email here, and I'll send it to your inbox. But in my opinion, even that is like a bait and switch, because essentially you're putting up an ad that says, I promise to give you this information. The person clicks on the ad expecting to get that information, and instead what we do is we say, well, I'm just joking. Before I can give you that information, give me your name and email. Instead of doing that, I think the fundamental premise of any marketer approaching the marketplace, they have to follow 2 golden rules of marketing. Rule number 1 is you always have to give before you ask. If you can get into that mindset of being a value provider rather than a resource taker, where I am now going to be customer-centric rather than what I can get out of it centric, I think we'll be loads ahead of our competition. So in this case, it would be simple as you put up an ad that has a very interesting image, a very interesting byline, a headline, something that will capture the intrigue of someone who would be interested. They'll click on that, and you take them to a blog, and guess what do? You give them the information that you promised them. I know it sounds like a marvelous idea, but who would have thought? Help the person before you expect anything in return. And when I say that, I'm basically saying give them a nugget, a truth, a tidbit, a video, a report of whatever you want that will help that person get that much closer to their goal. And what you're doing is, number 1, you're building goodwill. Number 2, you're presenting yourself as an authority in your field. And you're also building some loyalty, some trust, some likability. And then at the end of that content, then you can turn around and say, hey, if you like that information, give me your email and I'll send you part 2 of this report, or I'll send you another piece of information that is important to you. In other words, I kind of go by the premise of you always have to earn the right to ask for something by giving something 3 times of value. So if I can provide some amazing value to somebody, they can engage with that value, they can see how good it is, they can apply it to their life, and it works for them, then and only then do I even have the right to ask anything from them. And I think this is important for Facebook because Facebook being a social context, we need to go in with this idea that I'm going to be social, I'm going to engage, I'm going to participate, I'm going to bring value to the table before ever asking anybody to do anything. And the 2 benefits of that is, number 1, you fly under the radar, and not in a bad way, but in a very good way. You're not trying to be sleazy, you're not trying to be salesy, you're not trying to force anything on anybody, you're authentically earning the right to be able to sell something to someone right down the road. Does that make any sense?
Absolutely. I think too many people, I agree. And what I'm going to add to that is over and over and over again, you see the same thing about capturing leads. And I think it gets really old. Or, for example, the squeeze pages. How many times do you see squeeze pages and you go and you're scrolling, and only today it's 1,099.99, and then if you do it today, it's 1,000. And just now, I'll give you this and I'll give you this, and by the time you get to the end of the page, is 99.99.
Right.
And it gets old. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm tight. It's like sometimes people just want, they just want it now. How many times people already have? It's over and over and over, and you see this over and over and over again. I think if we can, like you said, get in the mentality of just giving, and I think that it is a giving receiving anyway. You're going to eventually get what you want anyway. So why not just get in the habit of just giving for the sake of giving, and stop even thinking about the other part, because at the end of the result, it's going to be what you want to get anyway.
Yeah, I think
it's like I don't this culture. We have this culture of not realizing that energetically the cycle is that way anyway. When we give, we automatically receive. So just automatically give to give, and eventually it's going to come around anyway. So
yeah,
just
I totally understand, Carl. I mean, it's a Marvel idea, but I mean, it's so simple. Rather than promising to help someone in exchange for something, why not just help them in the first place?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like it's this weird mentality we have as a culture that we're going to be taken advantage if we give. You know what I'm saying? We grow up with this thing that we're going to be taken advantage of if we give. If we give, we're going to be taken advantage of. And it's actually not true. But the thing is, if you unconsciously think you're going to be taken advantage of, I think energetically you're going to draw that. I mean, that's a whole other subject. But the reality is, just give because you want to give, because you want to help people. You want to empower people. I come from the mindset because I do want to empower people. So just come from that mindset. Empower people because you choose to want to empower people. Educate people.
Absolutely.
You want people to grow. That's what life is about, right? We learn from other people. I learn from other people. We all learn from each other. So come from that mindset.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you're a great testament to this. I mean, you take your time out of every week to put together one of these shows, to interview some people. You're not asking anything in return. You're just building goodwill. And I think in today's day, especially in a very social culture where social media is really what's driving people's behaviors, if we could simply, and it's so easy to do, all we got to do to step above the noise, to rise above our competition, is just be a little bit different, and all we got to do is really care. Now, I know that sounds a little elementary or whatnot, but I really believe that you will be paid in the same proportion that you provide value to the marketplace. And the marketplace is flooded with people asking, taking, selling, promoting, pushing, and doing everything they can to try and get your attention, to try and buy something from them or give them something or promote. And so it's really not too difficult to rise above the noise by saying, hey, I'm not going to ask you for anything. Let me earn that right. Let me give you my best stuff. Let me try to help you get to your goal before you even understood that you could. I will put everything on the table. And hey, if you walk away and we never do business or we never transact on any level, we both feel good because you've walked away with some nuggets that help you. I've walked away with, partially accomplishing my vision to help people, and everybody feels good at the end of the day. And even if you don't transact with me, in your mind space, you would think, hey, well, Nick's a cool guy, or Carly's a great gal. She helped me, and she didn't even ask anything in return. And I believe that over time, and this is not just karma talk, I mean, I think this is absolute specific business principles, that the more value that you can give to the marketplace, and the more you can be patient in the game, and the more that you actually care about your customer. I mean, what a Marvel idea. Care about your customer. Help them get closer to where they want to go. The more you can do that, the more you will rise above the noise in your marketplace, the more that people will know, like, and trust you, and the more that people will transact with you.
Exactly. I mean, I can't tell you how many times people could ask me, well, why are your shows have sponsors on them? Do you have commercials on them? I'm like, no, why would I want commercials on my video shows? Why would I want sponsors? It's like, no, I do these because I want to give back. I do these because I want to provide content and value to people. It's like, don't you monetize your shows? I'm like, no, these aren't about that. These are about wanting to give back to my community. These are about wanting to give back to my clients, and these are about giving back to. And again, it's like you said, I do these because I want to. This isn't about that, right? And I think too many people don't realize that you want to give value back to people. This is important. This is about educating everyone. And I think we all need to get back in that mindset. Find something that you're passionate about. Find something that jazzes you and go out and do that, whatever that is for you. Take some time out of your day or out of your week and find a way that you can give back to your community in whatever way that is for you. And for me, I love doing these interviews. It's a joy for me. I get to meet people from all around the world, and I find a way that I can give back to my community. I love doing these. And so I make sure that I find beautiful, wonderful people that have wonderful content and knowledge that they can give back to others. And you're a beautiful person that you can give value back to other people in your Facebook world, right? Right. So why not? Why not allow you to come on my show and give that value to other people?
Yeah, I mean, if there's only one takeaway, and I know we haven't talked about any tactics yet, but if there's only one takeaway that we could suggest and offer to the marketplace and to clients and people trying to do any sort of business, I would kind of sum it up as care about your customers and prove that you care by giving way more than you ask. And that will automatically build goodwill, that'll automatically prove you as an authority, that will automatically build credibility, that will automatically build trust. And the more you can do that, and the more seeds of that you could throw out there, there's nothing but good that can come as a result. And you never know, that one business deal or that one client that can open the door or that one person who's going to be your greatest customer. And it'll all come by you rising above the noise, by you not trying to be that typical guru marketer out there, and by you actually caring about people and proving that by offering value in everything that you do, whether that's with Facebook or whatever. If you could just remember the golden rule of number one, always give before you ask. And number two, if you're a marketer or an advertiser, remember that every step of the marketing process has to be providing value to the marketplace rather than trying to take it. And I think if people can abide by those two rules from a strategy perspective, they'll go leaps and bounds above their competition, and they'll start to be recognized in their place.
What I want to add to what you just said, it's really important you got to understand, in these communications and talking, you got to understand that people resonate with people, right? And they're going to start talking about you. How do you get customers? One of your best sources of customers is referrals. So when they hear you talking, they're like, wow, Nicholas is amazing. I want to do business with Nicholas because I heard about him from so-and-so. So don't realize that it's not just marketing through ads, it's also through referrals. I'd rather do business because so-and-so told me Nicholas was great. I'm not going to be looking through the Yellow Pages. I'm not going to be looking through necessarily just Facebook ads. I'm going to be wanting to know about Nicholas because I heard about him through the Archangel Academy, or I heard about him through, X, Y, and Z. Those are going to be some of your best resources, your best customers, because they knew about Nicholas directly from this other person. So those are some of your walking ambassadors that are walking around just talking about Nicholas. Those are the people that I'm going to want to do business with.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I couldn't agree more. There's just so much good that come out of it, and fortunately, and I say, oh, well, fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know which one it is. The rest of the marketplace is not doing that, so it's very easy to rise above the noise and to really get noticed in your space if you just do that. And so many good things can come of it. So, I mean, from a tactical standpoint. Again, the takeaway from a strategy versus and tactical standpoint is this. Think about what you as a user engage with on Facebook. When are you clicking like? When are you commenting? What are the types of things that you are engaging with on Facebook? And then simply reverse engineer that and say, now, how can I provide that to someone who is my target audience? And if you could figure that out alone, I mean, you could screw up on the headline maybe, you could have maybe an improper image, but if you just kind of understand the flow of the context of Facebook and be native to it, don't do anything that is contrary to the context of Facebook, but be native to the context of Facebook. If you just do that by analyzing what it is that you engage with, providing some value, putting some stuff up on a blog, asking for an email only after build your list only after you provided value, I think you'll be well on your way as kind of a stage one to get into this Facebook game.
And I know I went a little south because I got a little more into the social media aspect because I think social media is such an amazing thing because it's social, it's interactive. I want you to actually go into some of the actual tactical aspects. A lot of people don't know once they get into the Facebook ad aspects as to what to do. So I'm sorry for taking us a little bit south, but I got a little bit passionate about the social aspect of social media. So, because you're really good at getting into the Facebook ad aspect and what to do when they get in there. Because I do get a lot of questions about that. That once they get into the Facebook ads, they do not know what to do. So can you walk us through some of the tactical aspects of once they get into Facebook ads as to what to do? Because I get asked that all the time. And I'm sorry for taking us a little bit south, but I do get a little bit passionate sometimes.
I hear you. No problem. I think in its simplest form, there's really three main steps to mastering Facebook marketing. Step number one, even before you get into the whole ads aspect of it, and this is why I love Facebook, and this is why I think it's the most powerful platform in the world, it's Facebook's targeting ability. I mean, to me, the perfect ad is having the right message seen by the right person at the right time. Any one of those elements without each other would affect the response rate or will affect the productivity of the ad itself. And so Facebook is so beautiful in that it allows us to do that. Facebook allows us to reach our target where they are, which is essentially in an app on their phone, which is beautiful, and we can identify people who have already risen their hand to something that they are interested in. So let me give you kind of a real plain, basic, tactical approach to this. The beautiful thing about it is the celebrities in your marketplace, or what I call the influencers in your marketplace, have already done all the heavy lifting for you. I mean, there's no need to go out and try to rebuild a brand or do anything from scratch. I call it OPW, other people's work. And so in this case, I mean, a simple strategy, now there's many, but one of the basic tactics that I think everyone should apply right away is identifying who is the key influencer in your particular niche. And so for the sake of a very general example, let's say we were talking about the personal development space. As soon as I say personal development, who's like the first person that comes to everybody's mind? I know for me, it's Tony Robbins. Now, beautiful thing about this is Tony Robbins has a Facebook fan page, and he has over 1 million fans. Now, get that. There are 1 million people on Facebook who have put up their hand and said, I am interested in personal development type things and products, and they indicate that by saying, I am a fan of Tony Robbins. Now, if you were in the personal development space, you could try to go and find a whole new raving fan base, or why don't you design an ad and target an ad that goes specifically to Tony Robbins fans? And fortunately, Facebook, thank God, allows you to do this. I mean, it allows you to target the fans and the people who are interested in any of the key influencers in your space. So tactic number one is everyone needs to sit down at their computer, think about the top 10 influencers who are already have a Facebook presence and already have a raving fan base, and just write those down. So Tony Robbins, Deepak Chopra, I mean, you could go through the entire list. As soon as you have that list, you have a starting place in terms of how you can run your ads and who you can target them to. Now, beautiful thing about Facebook, too, is just recently, maybe under a year ago, they released what they call Graph Search. And Graph Search is Facebook's search engine. Now, as scary as this seems, Facebook tracks every time you say something, every time you tag someone, every time you change your status update, and it keeps that all in their database. And if I ever wanted to find out any information about anybody, all I'd have to do is to go up into that little blue box that says Facebook in the little clear box, and I can start typing in people who like Whole Foods or people who like Tony Robbins. Now, to take this a step further, once you have that list of 10 or so people, the strongest influencers in your marketplace, all you got to do is this. Go into the little graph search box and type in pages liked by people who like Tony Robbins. And Facebook goes and does all the research for you and starts to list all the other pages on Facebook that people who've liked Tony Robbins, they also like these pages. And it does all the market research for you. You can start scrolling through and, oh, people who like Tony Robbins also like Brian Tracy. People who like Tony Robbins also like T. Harv Eker. And it does all the work for you. And by this point, you should have 30 to 40 to 50 a list of 30 to 40 to 50 influencers in your space that you can begin to target as people that you are targeting within your ad space. And this is the most important thing when doing ads. I mean, you could take a shotgun approach and try to put an ad in front of everybody and hope that it'll stick. And I assure you, if you do that, most people won't be interested in what you have to do or what you have to offer, just like the vacuum cleaner salesman. And secondly, you're going to lose a lot of money in that. I mean, Facebook's going to serve your ad to people who aren't interested. It's really not worth it. But if you can put a personal development article or a value or video or something you've created in front of people who have put up their hand and said, I am interested in personal development things, I mean, you can only imagine the kind of engagement and response and clicks that people get as a result of that.
That is a really valuable tool, and I'm sure a lot of people did not know that. And probably you just scared some people, but that's okay. When you start telling people, oh, they gather all this data, and people are going, ooh.
Yeah, I mean, and you could even take it a step further. We've gone as far as, for example, putting an ad in front of women who are between the ages of 25 and 35 who live in Dallas, Texas, and who shop at Whole Foods. I mean, this is the kind of capabilities that Facebook allows you to do. And on the one hand, people think that that's kind of creepy, but it is a public platform and everyone's sharing their ideas. But from an advertising standpoint, and again, I'm not saying, manipulate that information or use it to your advantage. I would never suggest anything like that. But on the positive side, if you have something of value that is perfectly suited for a female between the ages of 25 and 35 who live in Dallas, Texas, and who like Whole Foods and are fans of Jillian Michaels, well, why not put that information in front of them? Because really, if you're going at it with the mindset that we're talking about, you are serving that community. And as long as you can be doing that, you have the ability to target. And first and foremost, before anybody attempts any sorts of ads on Facebook, you have to get into the mind space of how can I reach my ideal target audience. And one of the ways you can do that is exactly how we just shared.
So now, what else can people do, like besides those two tactics, when they actually get in there? Because I know in the masterminds you were actually going through like the ad, click pair ad, and you're actually going into some more really narrowing it down for what they could do in terms of the clicks per ads and all that.
Right. So once you actually get in your ads manager, now this might be a little daunting to non-advanced Facebook marketers, but what I would highly suggest is getting comfortable with the Power Editor, what's known as the Power Editor. Now, if you wanted to do Facebook ads, you can click on Facebook, open up the website, and just under the little toolbar under your name, you'll be able to click Create an Ad. Now, that's Facebook's basic ads manager, and it's a great place to start. But anybody who's actually doing anything positive with Facebook ads does not use that. What we do use is a Chrome extension called Power Editor. Now you'll need Google Chrome to use it, and so you could, if you're not using Chrome, you should be. It's the best browser out there. And then once you do that, at Facebook.com, I believe it's slash ads slash manage at slash Power Editor. If that's too much to remember, literally you could just type in Google Facebook Power Editor.
Wait, I have a suggestion.
Yeah.
After this interview, just so everyone knows, I'm going to be creating a whole blog post, and anything he's actually talking right now, he can give me links, and I will put them into the blog post so that anyone can click on it, and we'll have some clicks in there so they can follow through with what you're talking about. Also, just for some feedback, so for everybody else, since this is also a podcast, so I don't want to forget this, where can people find you if people are listening to this?
Sure. I think the easiest place that people can find me, I got a really, really basic website up at nicholaskusmich.com. So that's Nicholas, Nicholas. My last name, Kusmich, K-U-S as in Sam, M-I-C-H.com. That'll take you to a very basic webpage. I'm not into the big bang and flash of anything. You'll see my information there, and if you ever had a question or wanted to reach out to me, or facebook.com/Nicholas Kusmich. We are talking about Facebook, so we might as well reach out to me on there as well.
Now, since we're talking about more advanced stuff, do you actually teach some of the stuff? Do you have a course that actually helps people understand the more advanced stuff that we're kind of talking about right now? So if people wanted to actually understand more of this advanced stuff we're just starting to touch into, that you could actually walk people through?
Yeah, well, let me tell you a little secret about that. Originally, I was going to create a course, and I'm in the midst of writing a book about everything I know about Facebook. The reason why it's taking so long to get out there is because, as you alluded to, Facebook changes their platform all the time. So that was one of the reasons why we decided against putting out a course. But the beauty thing about this is, and if you wanted to save a ton of money, and I'm talking to any viewer or listener out here right now, there's this beautiful site called YouTube. You're probably familiar with it, and if you if you just type in how to use Facebook Power Editor, I guarantee you that there's 101 videos on there that will walk you through the basics all the way to the advanced on how to use that. Furthermore, if you wanted to learn anything about how to use Facebook, YouTube or Google are great resources. There's a lot of great people out there providing information about how to do that. So if you hear me use a term like Power Editor and it kind of goes over your head and you're not sure how to use it, I assure you, one, it's not that techy. I mean, it might take an hour or so to get used to it or whatever, but with a couple of video tutorials or a couple of blog posts that you can easily Google or YouTube, you'll find yourself very comfortable and very familiar with it, no problem.
And perfect, and that's why I brought that up. And I'm always teaching courses on social media for our two companies, and it's the same thing. I'm always telling people, and the exact same reason why I've written 2 social media books, and exactly like you're saying, things are constantly changing and evolving, so we write about the basics, and then we say, please go look at Google and YouTube because things are constantly changing. So to write a set book on a specific platform is useless because it is constantly changing.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for bringing that up, and then let's go back to where you were. I just wanted to bring that up then because I know you're going to bring things up and then people are going to go, what, huh? So
right.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, and what I do want to say as well is if you want to stay in touch, I do provide for people who have gotten into the Facebook game one of 2 services, and one is that's coaching because a lot of people don't have the time or the energy to stay on top of what's happening with Facebook, so they just need someone to bounce ideas off with once a month. So I provide that for people if they're interested in that. Or some people just say the hell with it, I don't want to even bother learning it. Nick, I want you and your guys to run ads for me. We also provide that service for people, so it's kind of a do-it-for-you service. So if that's of interest to anybody, we can definitely do that. But if you want to get into the game yourself, realize that it is a bit of a tricky thing to stay on top of, but with Google and YouTube and all the great free stuff out there, you shouldn't have any problems getting started. So
there's a learning curve. Like anything, there's a learning curve. If you want to learn something, that's what it is. It takes some work. It takes some learning. And that's what it takes. It takes work, like anything. You got to learn something. It takes some time, and that's what it takes.
And I would definitely advise people, strictly from a business perspective. I mean, there's a few things worth investing your time into, and anything that will generate sales for you, especially if you're like pre-7-figure revenue in your business. There's a book written several years ago called Ready, Fire, Aim, and I believe it's Michael Masterson or something like that. But he says for any business in their first couple of years en route to 7 figures. The only thing that they should be focusing on, both time, energy, and money, is sales. The lifeline of your business right up front anyways, until you get to a point where you can scale and you got everything taken care of, has to be sales and marketing. So whether that's taking the time to invest to learn this yourself, or bringing on an expert or a company or an agency or someone like myself, whomever, to do it for you. At front, it could be a little daunting. Oh my gosh, we don't have the money to spend on this sort of thing. But either way, I highly suggest for any business, rather than spending money on a new desk or fixing up your desk and making it look fancy or business cards or anything like that, if you are pre-7 figures in revenue, you need to pay your bills, to put bread on the table. You need to be driven by sales. Now, ethical sales, I'm not saying be all sleazy about it, but think about marketing, thinking about sales, think about getting your message out there to the most amount of people you can, and filling most of your day with revenue-producing activity. Because I think as entrepreneurs, we kind of deceive ourselves sometimes thinking that if, hey, I'm browsing the internet, I'm doing research for my business, or if I'm, organizing this or making a phone call to that, at the end of the day, we need to evaluate, is what I'm doing right now revenue-generating activity? If the answer is yes, continue to do it. If it's not, try to outsource that, pay it off, put it off somewhere, and focus on what's important. So I'm sorry about that little bit of a tangent, but I see it happening with entrepreneurs all the time, so I just wanted to throw that in there.
You're either doing it, you're delegating it, or you're deleting it.
Perfect. Perfect.
That's a motto I teach all my clients, and it's the busy. I love I'm busy. What type of busy are you doing? Are you actually really doing something that's, like you said, bringing revenue? Are you actually delegating things that you're not good at, and are you being really willing to be honest about it, or you're in your ego? Are you actually really looking at everything and you're realizing that things need to be deleted from your table because it's no longer serving you? Are you willing to fire people that are no longer serving you? A lot of people aren't willing to be having those honest conversations with themselves, with their team. They're just not willing to go there. Well, I really want to thank you so much for joining me. It's been absolutely fabulous having you. It was an absolute honor spending time with you at Archangel Academy, and I'm wishing everyone in our family there just absolutely many, many blessings. It was so much fun spending those days with everybody. Please tell everyone again once more where they can find you.
Yeah, I mean, if you need to reach out to me for any questions or any help with anything Facebook or business related, the easiest spot to do that is either facebook.com/Nicholas Kusmich if you want to find me on there, NiCholas, last name Kus as in Sam, MICH, or simply go to nicholaskusmich.com. Be sure to reach out to me that way. And there's so much to learn and so much we can talk about Facebook related. But again, just as a side note, for all of my clients, for myself, right now I believe it's the #1 platform to be able to drive traffic and to build businesses. And so if you're even remotely thinking about it, I would suggest invest some time and energy to make it work for you, and you'll see the dividends as a result.
And thank you, everyone, for joining us. You've been with Alyssa Thorne, and you can always find me at carlyssathorne.com. I love bringing you guys valuable content. I will see you next week. I will be putting together a wonderful blog post, which will have the embedded podcast as well as the embedded video. You'll find all the resources there with all of his links, all his information, and I look forward to seeing everybody next week. So enjoy, and blessings to everybody.